Sometimes, actually quite a lot, the good guy wins. The one in the white hat wins. The one that's fighting for justice and to fight to make sure voters don't have their votes thrown in trash cans in order to have somebody step over their dead, cold ballots and steal a Supreme Court seat. Sometimes that person wins. Allison Riggs is such a person, or should I call her by her formal title, Justice Riggs, North Carolina Supreme Court. Sure, it changes it to 5-2 a Republican majority, but we've got 2028 and 2030 coming up in North Carolina, and the Riggs shoe that just dropped, getting her that seat after her opponent, Jefferson Griffin, who's also a judge, a lower level judge, tried to throw away 67,000 votes. In order for him to get that seat, he had to throw away the votes of 67,000 North Carolinians, including those in the military. Depraved. Disgusting. That should be a disqualifier in and of itself. We talk about it all on Legal AF, the podcast, and here's a clip. Sometimes, many times, the good person wins. Sometimes the white hat prevails. Sometimes somebody takes a stand and doesn't allow 68,000 people who voted to have their votes thrown in a trash can so that another person can claim they won an election to the Supreme Court of that state. And this time, Allison Riggs, friend of the pod, who's been interviewed a number of times by our partner, Ben Meiselas, she won. She hung in there through multiple appeals by Jefferson Griffin. I hate Jefferson Griffin, by the way. I mean, I never despise people. I despise everything that Jefferson Griffin stands for. For me, he disqualified himself to ever become a Supreme Court justice in North Carolina or anywhere else. And I think he should step off of the Court of Appeals because his approach to try to steal this election was so depraved that I think it just sullied him and showed such a lack of character. By contrast, Allison Riggs, what a high moral, high character individual. And there were 4 appeals. There were 2 state rulings in favor of Jefferson Riggs, and yet Allison Riggs, now Justice Riggs, never gave up. And then finally, the end game happened. I'll turn it over to you, Karen. We had a ruling by a federal judge and then a decision, apparently, by Jefferson Griffin. Why don't you kind of tie it all together in your own inimitable fashion?
Yeah, well, it's funny when you put this on the list of things we're going to talk about today. I was like, didn't this election happen a long time ago? This is still kicking around. And it's because this was 6 months ago. She won by a very, very, very thin margin. I think it was 700 or so votes, which is obviously a very thin margin for the entire state of North Carolina. And so as a result, she was entitled to, the person who lost, as you said, this terrible person, Jefferson Griffin, was entitled to challenge it and have it recounted. Okay, that's fair, right? That happens all over the country. Nothing wrong with that. What was terrible about Justice Griffin, and what is happening now and is becoming the norm all around the country is it's like January 6th minus the violence. It's trying to steal an election, trying to disqualify voters. So what he tried to do is essentially they spent millions of dollars litigating this, and he tried to get 68,000 votes thrown out. 68,000 saying they should not count. Your vote shouldn't count. And it was just staggering. And, the judge who ruled on this, there were a couple of state court judges that basically said, oh, nothing to see here. Yeah, he can challenge it, and these votes don't count, et cetera. But thankfully, this went to a federal district judge, Judge Richard Myers, who, by the way, is a Trump appointee. Love to see that, who overruled the state courts and basically said, look, sorry, you can't change the rules after the fact. You can't say, oh, I don't like the fact that these people voted, that those people voted. And it was people who are out of town or people who are voting by mail, the same January 6th kind of, these votes shouldn't count, the mail-in ballot thing that they just don't like, that these are American citizens who lawfully casted ballots, who the law said they could. And after the fact is when they tried to say, oh, no, we don't want these counting. And what Judge Myers said was, you don't get to change the rules of the game after the game is over. You establish the rules before the game. And therefore, he said those votes count. And Judge Riggs, who's a Democrat, is going to be the lawful winner of this election. And so, thankfully, Griffin finally conceded, and now she's going to take office. But the reason this is a little bit, so it's good news, right? Because as you alluded to, what's going to happen is, one by one, although now it's 5-2, there's 2 Democrats and 5 Republicans. By 2030 is when redistricting happens in North Carolina, and they're going to redraw all the maps, et cetera. And so they want to get as many Democrats in on the way as possible to stop what they will try to do, because we know what they're going to try to do. Republicans want to win at all costs, even if it's cheating. There's no kind of winning fair and square, and so they want to cheat. And so the Democrats are the only ones who are going to hold them accountable. And so that's why this was so significant. But what I don't like about this is I don't like the fact that this is the new playbook. This is the new norm for Republicans. This is what the fact that the judges in North Carolina, the state court judges, were okay with this at first. It's okay to try to steal an election. Like I said, this one is without violence, right? This was a non-violent January 6th, but this was them trying to steal another election. And we just have to keep our eyes open to that, because that's what the Republicans are going to try to do. They're going to try to steal every election, state, local, federal, and we no longer live in a democracy.
Well, what I like about it is Allison Riggs proved, I'm going to read a quote from her. Allison Riggs proved that, and by drawing the line in the sand, basically over my dead body, or 68,000 people going to be disenfranchised, including military. She's the daughter of military. She fought hard. Any normal person, or weaker person, would have given up 5 rounds of state or federal court ago. But not Allison Riggs, because the issue is bigger. Because if she lost in North Carolina, then the dam potentially breaks, and it emboldens the Republicans, who are the cheaters. I hate to say it that way. They've been gaslighting us for the last 10 years, 5 years, that the Democrats are the ones who are cheating and stealing elections. That's not happening. But the Republicans would get a taste for this, just like they tried, just like if Musk was successful in spending $20 million to steal a Wisconsin Supreme Court seat, where it became 4-3 Democrat and liberal. That would have emboldened Musk and others to go do the same thing in other places. And they've decided that the last vestige of a firewall to protect Americans and women and immigrants and other disadvantaged and almost disenfranchised people, vulnerable people. It's a shame, I have to say, that the women, who make up 51% of this country and are so accomplished, more so than men in many circumstances, are disadvantaged, but they are. And the last vestige for that is state Supreme Courts enforcing state constitutions. And the Republicans know it. And so they want to get in and start controlling state house and state houses and state Supreme Courts, because that is the battlefield for votes. That's the battlefield for elections. That's the battlefield for reproductive rights and the rest. And they know it, and we know it. And we're fighting to the death over control. So, it was a courageous and valiant thing. But if she had lost, and that's why so many different groups supported her, if she had lost, think of what the Pandora's box would have been opened. Here's what Riggs said, celebrating the ruling. She said, quote, "After millions of dollars spent, more than 68,000 votes at risk of losing their votes, thousands of volunteers mobilized, hundreds of legal documents filed, and immeasurable damage done to our democracy." That's the point of Griffin. He so damaged and wounded democracy. Even the Judge Myers, the Trump appointee, said, "You want me to unseat her? In order for me to put you in your chair, Griffin, I got to throw away and disenfranchise 68,000 people. In order to give her the seat, I just have to recognize the will of the people." So you know where I'm going with this, which was the right way to analyze it. She continued and said, "I'm glad the will of the voters was finally heard 6 months and 2 days after Election Day. It's been my honor to lead this fight, and she's not done, even though it should never have happened. This is a righteous victory for democracy and a clear defeat of political gamesmanship, said the DNC's chair, Ken Martin. She's not going to be able to be involved again because she's got to be apolitical as a North Carolina Supreme Court justice. But there's going to be textbooks about Allison Riggs and coming on the Midas Touch Network. I mean, as you said earlier today, on another segment of our podcast, we are focusing attention, speaking truth to each other about important issues so that it gets out there into the public square, into where we debate, right, on the soapboxes that we take up in our conversations to hopefully change minds, right? That this information, people like Allison Riggs are important. And so really, really pleased that, and I won't say for once because it happens a lot, that the good guy won. That's a show we've been doing for the last 5 years called Legal AF. If you don't know why we call it that, now you do. It's every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Network. Then we do hot takes like this about every hour at the intersection of law and politics on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN, and over on the Midas Touch Network. And we also have a Legal AF Substack you might find interesting as well. So join us. If you know about Legal AF, take that clip, send it off to other people so we can continue to grow this pro-democracy channel and podcast. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.